Melinda.
Yes.
Have a seat, Mr. Aguirre.
This is Casey.
Hi, Casey.
We got to make this quick because I got to get over to collect saps so George and Ginger get to your house for dinner.
Yeah, so you're alive.
I talked George into waiting a couple hours because the sap was really running. So
Perfect.
I heard they're supposed to get to your house for dinner. So.
That's right. I got a boiled dinner ready to go. You're alive. Hey.
Okay, it looks like we have quorum and I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to call this meeting order. Laurel, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Behrens?
Here.
Which township? Which township?
Oh, Elmwood.
Mr. Christensen?
Present.
Mr. Frericks?
Here.
Ms. Lautner?
Present.
Chairman Noonan?
Here.
Which township?
Empire.
Mr. Popa?
Here.
Mr. Robbins?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Walter is absent. Mr. Yeomans?
Here.
Okay, moving on to public comment.
The number to call in for public comment is 231-256-8109.
Give a few minutes here to see if anybody calls in.
I do not show anybody watching.
Okay, we will move on to agenda additions or deletions. Does anybody have anything to add or remove? John?
I gotta get out of here by 20 to 5. I would like to move the Veronica Valley package up front.
Okay, we can do that.
He's sitting out here.
We'll move Veronica Valley from 3C to 3A and just bump the other two down.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We have an agenda. Moving on, approval of minutes from the February 17th regular session. I was not here.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Moved by
I didn't get a
Christensen.
copy. I didn't get a copy.
They're emailed to everyone.
Did everybody else get a chance to look them over?
Yeah. I found no problem.
Okay, well, we'll move forward then. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Action item number 2 would be the Alzheimer's event request. Laurel?
Financials first, Casey.
Sorry, my agenda isn't showing the financials. I'm sorry.
It's online.
I updated it at
Number
1.
2.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry, I probably didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Got it. Am I up? Casey, you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Financials, we've used a whopping 2.5% of our budget. It is only February though,
It's a
so. Nothing really standing out as major. Pretty big repair on the groomer, but that was 1,100. So. That's all I got really, unless anyone has any questions.
Was that the one that Dave Burns messed up?
It is.
Okay,
Move to accept the financials as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to support the accept the financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Financials are accepted. Laurel, I'm really sorry, but I did not get the updated agenda, so I'm going to roll with the,
That was the only
First-
change, was adding financials.
okay, perfect. Okay, now moving on to the Alzheimer's event.
I talked to Dana. They have put this, Old Settlers Park as a stop for their old car route that cruises around Leelanau County. They would be there, looks like they set up at 7 a.m. They expect 100 people, 50 vintage cars, arrive around noon. They're there for a bit, snacks, display some banners and balloons. And then they would leave. The a group does a fundraiser based out of their starting point in Traverse City. So there's no fundraising for this stop. It's just a place for them to park their cars and rest and then move on.
I'm sorry, Steve, what was the date again?
June 19th.
June 19th.
What was the statement about balloons?
They're gonna have some balloons there and then they're gonna take them away.
Okay,
Just, you're doing a little, like a decoration, whatever.
I see. As long as
And they'll
they,
take,
yeah, as long as they, remove them, are responsible for that.
yeah. Her comment about that is, we will clean up, of course, you'll never know we were there. They'll be gone by 3 p.m. at the latest.
So we really don't have to approve this, am I correct on that, Casey? I think if they're just gonna come and use the park is open, first come, first serve.
Correct.
Yeah, in this
Because it-
situation, I feel like they're not asking to block off the park, or they're not going to be. I mean, it's a fairly large group of people, but Old Settlers is considerably bigger than that. Yeah, I think it's kind of they know that it's first come, first serve. I feel like it's good for us to all know about it, but I don't know if we really need to have approval of this one.
I would agree, as long as they understand it is first come, first serve. So if it turned out to be a super hot day and there were lots of people there before they get there, it may be a traffic issue for them of some sort. But otherwise, I don't think they need our approval.
Is there any other discussion?
Hey,
Well, then-
Casey,
Yes.
The 50 cars or whatever they're gonna have, Steve, did they say anything? They're just gonna park in the roadway, right? They're not gonna like park in the grass like they do for the
I can direct them.
picnic, old settlers picnic, you know, how they use the grass area and stuff.
Yeah, she didn't say, but I can direct, I can direct their parking on to keep the parking on the,
In the loop,
in the loop, okay.
or in the center. I mean, other people that drive by might see a whole bunch of cars there and stop and walk through and check out the cars, so,
Right.
yeah.
That's
You know,
correct.
go for it, but just as long as they're not parking on grass and flowers and whatnot.
I'll tell her that.
I just had a statement. I said, this is really neat that they want to stop at our park and make use of our park. And I think that's an awesome thing. So hopefully they'll advertise so some people can do a drive-through and say hi to them and see what they're doing, see what they're up to.
Yeah, those, it's a bunch of cars out of the Haggerty group apparently that they insured.
Oh,
So
cool.
they're probably gonna be pretty spiffy.
Pretty spiffy.
Okay. That's all I had, Casey, thank you.
So we just have to remember to go, right?
That's right. And what time is it on the 19th?
It looks like the cars will be there around noon.
Noon, okay, thank you.
They're gonna set up at 7 AM. Dana is kind of in charge of it, so to speak. She used to be on the Parks and Rec. It was Dana Roman. She has a new name.
Yes, and I can't remember it.
So Antiques will be driving them too?
Probably. Not that Dana's an
Like
antique.
old
but
as
they're-
me, right?
Will be.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this? Then I think forward without a motion and just to make sure that they understand that it's first come, first served. Okay. Moving on to committee reports. We're gonna go with Veronica Valley first. Take it away, Dave.
Okay. With some of the literature provided to you, you'll see that this week we passed three motions in the Veronica Valley Committee, pushing the information on to this group. So I'll go through those in order, dispense with the first one, I think, pretty quickly. The background to that, the motion was by Steve Christensen recommending to Parks and Rec Commission, to this whole group, to accept the donation of a bench at Veronica Valley Park. The full backstory to this is that the fishing committee of the Leelanau Lake Association, so the sponsors of the fishing day, want to place a bench, pay for a bench, place a bench in commemoration of all of Pete Taylor's work in the first 15 years of creating that whole event. I think we've already voted as a full commission to accept this, but we've now come under an overriding donation process established by the full Board of Commissioners, which is simply a case-by-case basis. So when this comes to be, and in coordination with Scott, we actually place this bench and get a plaque on it, or get to that point, we will take then this motion for acceptance to the full commission. It doesn't require any action, I don't think, by this group right now. If there's no question, I'll go on to the second one. We passed a motion recommending to this group that we move forward with approving a YouthWorks application that's under the directorship of Bill Watson, an application for 2% allocation from the tribe. And that's for invasive species removal work at Veronica Valley. Again, I don't think action is needed right now because Bill will have the details of that application for us to look at and decide if we want to approve our recommendation to the full Board of Commissioners. We'll have that on April 21st. But he's looking at a program that would include some goats, managed goats, to remove invasive species, and in an application range of some 12 to 15,000. But again, I don't think that requires action by this group right now. The third motion that we came up with is a little bit more detailed. We recommend to the Parks and Rec Commission, to this group, that we move forward on entering into an agreement with the County Road Commission to replace the main entrance culvert at Veronica Valley Park at a cost not to exceed. And unless John Popa might have more information that is to be determined yet, there were still some details to work out on that. But Veronica Valley Committee is working on right now a priority plan for both the fishing safety and access around the old putting green. We're still moving on that. I have nothing to report specifically on that at this point, but also on upgrading our whole parking lot situation. And looking at that and trying to break it down into steps, we see that replacing this culvert is a good first step that we might be able to afford this year. So there we have passed on a recommendation to this group to approve of us moving forward with this effort to have an agreement with the County Road Commission to replace the main entrance of the main entrance culvert. John Popa, you got anything more to add on that?
I do.
Thank you.
I hammered away at the executive document summary. And we ran this by the road commission. And they use a set estimate when we do jobs of about $50 a foot. And it's a 100-foot thing. So they came up with 5,000. Something that long, it's possible that you could do it in one day and it'll come in much cheaper. So I drew something up, and if we vote on it, what I would like to do is vote on it pending we get a letter from the road commission prior to this executive meeting that Laurel can put in a packet to say that here's the letter from the road commission saying they can do it for 5,000 max. And we could still do that for next month's executive meeting. So let me read this and you guys can chew it apart. I wrote to waive the bid and a contracted amount of 5,000 with the Leelanau County Road Commission. So under that request to waive board policy, these are the words I threw in there and you guys can chew it up. The present entrance has a 100-foot culvert that is old, it's rusting out, and will eventually fail. Future plans for the park include improving the parking lot and entrance. Bullet. The present entrance does not meet driveway entrance standards for public use. Bullet. Prior to future improvements, it's best that this culvert be replaced now. Bullet. The road commission can replace the culvert at cost per intergovernmental work agreements. Bullet. Bids aren't required, nor does a road commission bid against private contractors. Bullet. If approved, a letter of agreement would have to be implemented, and Chet would know what to do. Bullet. Routine estimates for culvert replacement is about $50 a foot or $5,000. Bullet. Actual cost for this location may be much cheaper. And so I suggested a recommendation. Again, I just typed it up. You guys want to see this? I made a motion for the executive committee to the Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with the Leelanau County Road Commission to replace that County Road 641 driveway entrance to Veronica Valley for a cost not to exceed $5,000. If we make a motion here, we should have a comma saying pending. I won't take this in front of the executive board, pending a letter from the road commission. We need something that this is what they're going to do. And then they would take it there and the board would see it. Now, the iffy thing is that we got 45,000 in capital outlay. Some of you people mentioned that some of that may be eaten up at, what park is it? Miles Kimberly Park. It's not going to cost 5,000, but I would like to have a motion here to carry this on to the next step so that I got 3 weeks to get a letter from the road commission that would satisfy the board of commissioners.
John, may I ask a question?
Go ahead, Dave.
Gotta watch for the partials.
John
I
Pope, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so you're wishing us to pass a recommendation to the full Board of Commissioners now, pending a final dollar figure from the Road Commission, so that you can get it, we can get it through the April County Board of Commission process. That is, we got to have a recommendation from us today, because you want to get this pushed through April, because we need to get into the Road Commission schedule. Is that correct?
Yeah, Laurel has a schedule, and I can get them to write a brief one sentence thing for it, but I'm not gonna have them go do something and chase this and go measure things if we're not in agreement with it. So they can get us a letter here next week, something that will go through the administration so that she can attach it.
Correct.
I'm not the best person of writing these things. But that was just a crack at it. If someone's got way to write it, usually Laurel tells me this doesn't pass the smell test, but anyway.
John, this is Casey. As of right now, I mean, I like it. I like the initiative to get something done here and keep it moving and follow all the right steps. Melinda, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. I know you said that it's probably better to replace the culvert earlier or ahead of the improvements to the parking lot. But we don't know yet when we're going to do the parking lot improvements.
That's correct.
We have another.
Right, but we haven't approved that.
Oh,
We don't know if it'll be this year or next year or 3 years from now, right? So how long do we think that culvert's going to last?
80 years.
The new one, what about the one that's there now?
I don't know. It's rusted on the outside and it's pretty shot. It's galvanized metal.
Onto it, plugs very easy.
That's what-
I didn't hear you. I mean, it's been there a while, and those metal culverts alongside of a road, they get all kinds of contamination. How come I think we should do it now is whether we do a parking lot or not, that culvert should be replaced. If you stop and looked at it, one end is rusting out. The other is, if we approve this in April, we're not paving until the middle of May. And Dave, this is a one-day project. Dave is our superintendent. He can send guys out there in a drizzle and stuff and replace a culvert and have the thing done in one day. Then we drive over it, Melinda, pack it in. And if we put something in a budget next year, then we say, hey, we got the culvert done at least. If a contractor has to do it, the sky is going to go really high to replace that culvert.
Okay.
Laurel has a comment, Casey.
Go ahead,
Laurel has a
Steve.
comment. Laurel has a comment.
So
Go ahead.
something had come up at last night's regular session of full board. I forwarded some documents on a matter relative to Glenwood Valley. And if you were to look at the attached management plan that was part of that email, it does state in there that a culvert replacement was needed, and that was 11 years ago. So this has been on the radar for some time to replace the culvert.
I thank you for that.
And
Thank you.
I think John made a really valid point there where if, let's say we do kick the can down the road a little ways and say we don't want to do it right now, any private firm's going to charge us 15, 20 grand just to replace that culvert.
Right.
Bingo. If I may. Scott,
Go ahead.
a very good point. He said that the culvert, I don't know if you guys heard it, but he said the culvert is very small and has been plugging very easily. So I think that's a very valid point. I just want to make sure that was heard by all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
we're aware of that.
Casey,
yeah, go ahead.
Just a clarification, we have a county road out front, correct?
Pardon me?
County park. When does the road become a park road, and why isn't that culvert taken care of by the county road commission, why is the park paying for a culvert when it's sort of, I mean, it's right there, it's part of the road, it's not part of the road, is it part of the park road, is there a shared cost? That's my question.
The answer to that is the road commission owns the right of way. And if somebody wants to do something in the right of way, they come to us for a permit, whether it's to do all kinds of things. And one thing is a driveway. It's always at the expense of the owner. We don't own that driveway, but if he's going to enter onto our pavement, he's got to do it to good standards. So they could just say that whole thing could cave in. And then it's like we said, you're going to get a contractor there, like Casey said, and that price is going to go sky high. They can't do it as cheap as stopping a truck and doing this, and we can plug this. They're certified under but all kinds of stuff that Steve knows with regards to barriers and this and that. And they're all, so no, we don't take care of people's culverts. We don't take care of their, we'll look at drainage. And if they got a culvert that's stopping drainage, we let them know. We'll either rip it out if it's flooding our road or something, but usually the owner complies.
My thought is the culvert, and you're correct, and you explained it, but the culvert's there because of the road, so that the drainage doesn't affect the road. So if the culvert's there because of the road, it would seem like the culvert under the road to the park is part of the culvert.
Under driveways, it isn't. If it's under our highway, then we'll take care of it. This is under a private person's driveway. In this case, it's the government. It was Bill Grant's at one time, and he put the thing in and whatever.
Seems like we're both county departments and we're fighting each other as opposed to maybe working together. I don't know.
I like that comment that you made. This was addressed 11 years ago or something.
So I guess we, because this is over, that usually this would have to go out for bid, but we don't know if it's going to be that much or not. And I would hope it would come in less. I never put in a culvert, so I don't know, what the new cost to put them in. So at the very least, we're either gonna have to put it out for bid or waive our bid policy on it.
Casey?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Melinda, you're correct. In fact, we'd have to hear this group pass 2 resolutions of recommendation. The first, or one would be a recommendation that we be allowed to forego the bid policy, and then a recommendation to accept this procedure. What we're proposing here, that we work with the County Road Commission. I guess for me, the question right now is, can we pass a motion now that's solid enough for John Popa to proceed so that we can pull the dollar figure together before the April executive board meeting? Or do we want to maybe make this a month later? I don't know.
Time just goes by. Once we get into paving, you aren't going to see this done until fall or something. We do have time in May probably to get this, or even in the end of April. Again, it's a one-day job, but if you want to go out for bids, the road commission is not going to give you a number. They're not going to give you a letter, and they're not going to bid against private enterprise. It's against the law. So if you want to go out for bids, then you have to say you do that. And I don't know how much it's going to be. And you'll see that the price will be a lot higher than.
Hey, Case?
I guess I'd make a motion that.
Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
No, Steve was talking. Go ahead.
Oh, go.
Sorry.
Let Steve make the motion and then Todd can talk to it.
I'd make a motion that we move forward with a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with the County Road Commission and under a request to waive board policy for bid requirements for a contract not to exceed $5,000 for the replacement of the culvert at the main entrance at Veronica Valley Park, pending a letter needed from the County Road Commission to satisfy the administration with respect to this agreement, and pending the administration working through the agreement to satisfy the county board of commissioners with regard to the waiver.
I'll second that.
That could be turned up, couldn't it?
No, it's good. I'll second that.
Well, let's clean it up just a teeny bit. We realize we're going to be getting some type of document from the road commission.
In the next 2 weeks.
And our board has everything reviewed by its council. So it would be motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to waive its policy on bid requirements and enter into an agreement for the replacement of the culvert at Veronica Valley Park at a cost not to exceed $5,000 pending council review and approval. We're going to assume we're getting something from them. And if I don't get something by that week before the executive, it's not going to be on the agenda for April.
So moved.
Okay?
Is that okay with the second?
Second.
Right, so I had a motion mentions, but the motion will mention that we're going into agreement with the road commission, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear you say the road commission, so, yeah.
So John, you'll get that ASAP, right?
A little discussion, are you ready to?
Casey?
Laurel, if we go in front of the county board of commissioners and they approve it, then you enter into a contract. We don't need to enter into a contract prior to approval of the commissioners. We just need that letter from the road
They
commission.
will sign it that night. Okay? They're recommending for the executive session, this entering into the agreement.
They'll sign it at the executive session or the one in,
The executive is a recommending meeting. And then the following week, they strike that language recommending and they approve. Okay?
yeah, and that's when they sign it or not?
Yes.
Okay,
So I believe April 13th is executive and then the 20th is the regular.
I think you're right, yeah. It's all the comments I had.
Any other comments?
I do, Casey. It's for Laurel.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
We won't get any grief by doing in-house, by not going out for bid, right?
This is different because you're working with another government
That's what I thought.
entity.
So it's okay if we do that without going out.
If this was Joe Floro's
Cousin,
culvert replacement,
gotcha,
then you're gonna get some people.
okay. So we should be okay with
Right.
the motion, because you got the motion to bypass and the motion to do it.
John already discussed it
In
with
one.
Chet.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Parking
Okay,
lot
Dave, is there
updates.
anything else under Veronica?
Parking lot updates on there.
Not unless one of my committee members has something he'd like to add in. Steve or John?
What?
I've got something, but John just is handing out a parking lot drawing. Do we need to go over that, Dave?
Well, I don't think there's need to today because we are still in the process of detailing that more, but that's gives everybody a sense of what we're looking at.
That's what I would like. Just 5 minutes on that.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, John and John spent some time looking at that parking lot with this guy's input. And we got way too big of a parking lot. We've got some numbers going through and stuff like that, and there's no use bringing them up. But for Scott and plowing, we drew some sketches on what we got to do. And the next page is what an entryway might look like. That's too wide on one side and a little bit of stuff like that. So we want this Parks and Rec Committee to think about this because I don't know, Melissa, when we got to have or Laura, when do we got to have our first request for budget for next year? June or July or something?
Yes.
So we only got a couple meetings here, and we're still rounding out some of these things. And if this board feels that we want to go request so many $1,000 for next year, one, that culvert can be done. Two, on the second page, if they don't want to spend that much money, the entrance could be done with the first coat of asphalt, which is the second page. And right now, we ran some numbers by, and you could probably do that for 15 grand. Don't quote me, but that's about what it takes to put curbs and a big entryway in. I'm handing this out because we're going to be bringing this up as we refine some more and more numbers and we meet with more and more contractors. So I don't want to surprise anybody, but we don't need to take anything to the board now. But we need to know that we're going to have to put some money in this budget if we want to spend some money on this. So looking at it, there's a few things that can change. Scott's interested in where he's going to push gravel. We're interested in where the grass is going to end. It's a fairly simple design. It limits it to 25 cars, which Scott knows. You go down there, most of the time there's one or two. And it gives a place for the school bus. So we went through all kinds of other designs and we just threw them out. So if this is what we think, we're going to be bringing it up in April, we're going to be bringing it up in May, we're going to bring it up in June and put it in front of the county commissioners. That's the end of my speech. Not looking for any approvals, but this is what we talked about at our meeting Monday.
Thanks for the information. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
Again, just backstory to fill in some of this, especially for our newer members here. As we have not succeeded in receiving a state grant to do quite a large development at Veronica, we've decided to go ahead with that move along with that planning that was involved and begin doing what we can do out of our own budget process. And in our discussions at the committee level, we've determined that the fishing safety, fishing access, fishing safety, the main fishing pond is one of the priorities, the priority, I would say, and we haven't presented any dollar figures on that yet, but those are coming. And then this parking lot improvement. And that we've recognized we want to break down into steps as much as possible that makes sense so we can afford it. And that's why the culvert discussion has come up, because it is a first step, and it does look like it may be something we can afford this year. All of the rest of this, including the cost of the fishing safety, is yet to be detailed and is going to have to be part of immediate budget decisions, and then the broader budget decisions come late June for next year. That's all.
Well, I like that we're forward thinking here, and I appreciate all the information and all the work that's going on, and hopefully we can spend some money.
I've got something.
Go ahead, Steve.
About a month and a half ago, Wayne Kelchick called me. He had a situation in Veronica Valley where people there were complaining about a guy that had his dog there off leash that was running around. And so Wayne followed up and was able to catch up with the guy and talk with him about getting his dog on a leash, and the guy said he didn't have to, he was hunting. And Wayne said, well, can I see your license? And there was no license, he had no weapon, he had no orange. He just said, well, I'm hunting. And so Wayne wrote him a ticket, and he challenged it, and that process would go to magistrate court. So it takes 3-4 weeks to win through the system and get to magistrate court. So Wayne gave me a heads up that that was happening, and he was gearing up to go and face the challenge, and he was really confident that he would win. and the guy would have to pay the ticket. So in between, he started doing a bunch of research unbeknownst to me, but he talked to everybody over in that building. He talked to people at the DNR. He talked to people at the National Park. And the more he talked to these people, the more he realized that he was probably not going to have any standing. So it was 3 or 4 weeks after that initial call, he called me and said he's going to go and pull his ticket back. He's going to pull it back because he didn't have standing. The state of Michigan declared that if you just say you are hunting, you do not have to have a license. You do not have to have hunter orange. You do not have to declare a season. You can just, all you have to do is say that on property that's open to hunting, and you can let your dog run. The guy wasn't hunting. He was there letting his dog run. So the ticket got pulled back. So that's the situation that we're in at Veronica Valley Park at this point in time.
So,
Speed supersedes all.
yes, I agree. But this is new to me. So how can you say you are hunting, but yet not have a license if state law says you have to have a license to hunt?
It's actually training.
He was training, that's different.
That's the part you didn't bring up is
Gotcha,
training. That's the key thing. If you say you're training.
training his dog.
That's-
He doesn't have to say he's training. All he has to say is that he's
But
hunting.
he's training for hunting.
That-
And that.
All he has
doesn't
to
have
say
a
is
license.
he's hunting. He doesn't have to say he's training.
But you can't hunt without a license, that's why I'm asking you how.
The state of Michigan is allowing so much freedom with this situation that the rule that we have that says your dog has to be on a leash does not mean a thing. And we'll have to
Steve,
have
can I
Wayne, we'll have to have
Steve, can I
Wayne
interrupt here
do
real
a
quick?
presentation.
Yeah, this is, through this whole situation, from what I'm gathering, is that we're all gonna go back and forth here for a few minutes, spark regulations and whatnot. I would think in my own mind that it is a good idea to see if Wayne could come to next month's meeting and explain the situation to us and exactly what was reported to him by the state and the rules that he's investigated in trying to enforce this, so that we're all on the same page here and we're not going from everybody's idea. I don't know what everybody's thought is on that. I mean,
I think we have to do it that way.
I think we
Just-
really do. I
just so
agree.
that we're here,
Let's get all on the same page, because.
you know, I think we're gonna spend a lot of wasted time here discussing this topic without hearing it from the dog's mouth. If that, I mean, in all reality, I mean, I think Wayne needs to be involved in this and
Yes.
clue us in onto what exactly happened, what the law is, and how it goes. And I think it's going to save us a lot of discussion here with
Yeah,
no
we
result.
need to get, because in the past, all I ever knew of was that had understood that just the Native Americans could do exactly that they don't have to have a license and they can hunt pretty much wherever. basically.
Probably can't see me, Casey.
So, that might be the situation, but is it or not? I don't know.
Dave,
Chairman?
I see you have your hand up.
I just support what you're saying, Casey. We don't know what kind of pickle this puts our animal control personnel in terms of the public safety issue of dogs running free in a public park. But we're not facing a big outflooding of that problem right now. We've got some time, and I certainly need to hear from Wayne. So I really support that. I do want to remind you, Mr. Chairman, that we have fishing committee, the DNR fishing report in our next April meeting, so things may get a bit crowded. Meaning we've got.
I
Just that we've got
appreciate that,
time
but
to-
that's part of Yeah, this is something unexpected, and I mean, we have to do our due diligence to try and get this solved. And I think we all as a Parks Committee, not just Veronica Valley, need to get on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
And hear it right from Wayne, so that we all know what's going on, and then we can make a decision from there, or have, from there, we can have Veronica come up with a plan. I mean, however we want to do it, but I think we all need to hear from Wayne directly what's going on, so that we're all on the same page.
Yep.
John, did you have something?
I did. I think you're on the right track. I first thought that we should bring it up to our Veronica committee, but then we'd just be wasting time here. I think it's best to bring it here. And I recommend that this gets put on the agenda for next month. Wayne will be more than willing to come. I met with him 2 hours, just like Steve did. And it turns out, Melissa, hunting is really long, but if you shoot or you take game, then you need that hunter's orange, you need a license, but you could be hunting crickets, you could be hunting mushrooms, and you can have a dog run loose just chasing mice. And red squirrels is open season, and he could chase red squirrels all he wants, and he's hunting. And that's the excuse this guy is living, and I'll rest my case.
Okay, I think we can just leave it there. We'll get Wayne on the schedule for next month and save ourselves a bunch of discussion here.
Thank you for your time. Veronica's done.
Okay, let's move on to Miles Kimmerly, Glen Lake student volunteer request.
Miles Kimberly met from 2 to 3 today, just before this meeting, and we looked at 7 projects, and we're trying to prioritize those as to what's the best thing to look at first, so we spend the money properly and that sort of thing. So I have nothing to add to that. The other thing on the Miles Kimberly is the Glen Lake student volunteering request. Everybody saw the letter from Pat Hobbins, I assume. I just have the question first. Is Pat Hobbins, is he the Patrick Hobbins the trail is named after? Is that a relative? Anybody know?
Probably
Correct.
Pat.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, our committee looked at this and we really decided they wanted to assist in the cleanup. I assume this was the cleanup of the logs and the branches and all that sort of thing. But if you say it's just any kind of cleanup, first we decided, the committee did, that it's not appropriate for these 8th graders to be involved in the cleanup of the branches and the logs that are left over from the logging. That's number one. Number two, we don't have anything definite for them to look at right now, but Steve's going to give Pat a call and talk to him and say maybe later on will be something that they can get involved with at our project. Yes. No.
I think the cleanup for the kids is more like soccer field area, trash, litter, the golf course area, the disc golf, walk that and see if they're, see if there's trash.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
In the thing there, because those are the kids that use that park the most, soccer clubs and stuff like that. I don't think it would be helping move trees.
No,
shoot,
it
I
was
wouldn't
listed on the agenda. I first thought it was have we clarified it at our meeting. And so I'll talk to Scott about that and see if we can come up with something to offer them. And Steve and Scott might come together, say something's available. Besides cleaning out porta potties or whatever else is going on.
Right, they're looking to fill their resumes and stuff for volunteerism.
No, I understand. Yeah, I think we should try to
And that's a good
accommodate them as much as possible, accommodate them without causing too much confusion or havoc.
Right.
Yep, I
Sure.
think so.
And that's all I have really. Unless you're interested in the 7 items that we're looking at, but we're trying to prioritize those, and you'll see those in the minutes anyway. So we'll let it go at that for Miles Kimberly.
Okay, we'll move on
There's an
to
art.
Old Settlers.
There's an art. Oh, that's Old Settlers. Never mind. Old Settlers.
I'd like to, Laurel Varan has been patiently waiting here, and I'd like to bump her up first instead of the Glen Arbor Arts Center, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Laurel. You're on mute, sorry.
There, that's better, right?
There we go.
Okay, So thank you. It is the time of year when I'm starting to look forward to spring and planning for the season. So just want to fill you in on what's been going on with the monkey flower at Old Settlers. Basically, everything is doing really, really well because we are able to continue caring for that site and managing it. In contrast to some sites further on down the shore that we had to let go years ago, they just got totally overrun with jewelweed and watercress. So just, yeah, when I see sites that I'm not able to care for, it just makes me all the more grateful that so far we've been able to continue caring for the Old Settlers colonies. So my hope is that the county will again support our work there. It will continue to be a collaboration. There are a few neighbors very close to Old Settlers that again are pledging to help with the care. And as a business, I'm donating time, and the Glen Lake Association is also again contributing money to this project. And so I'd like to stick with the same budget they've had in the past, which would ask for $960 as a contribution from the county. We were able last year to clean out an additional site. There was a seep fairly close to the steps that come down from the bank and head out to the dock. There was a seep there that's always been really overgrown with just watercress and all kinds of other junk. So we were able to clean that out towards the end of the season last year, and I'm excited to put monkey flower transplants in there probably in June or so this coming year. So things continue to go well, and I'm just hoping that the county will be supportive again. Does anybody have any particular questions about this project, or I mean, are there people that are unfamiliar? I kind of breezed through.
Casey, can I say something?
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah.
Hey, Laurel, we do have a number of new people on here.
Okay.
Can you do monkey flower in 2 minutes?
Yes,
Just
I'm so
tell them
sorry.
quick what it is and why we
Yes.
support this.
Yeah, so monkey flower is an endangered species that grows only in Michigan. It's endemic to this part of the globe. There's only about 17 known populations, all in the Straits of Mackinac and in this upper northwest corner of Michigan. So it requires a very specific set of conditions on the site. Some of those conditions are cool, flowing, fresh water, and a very alkaline situation. So that's what we have at Old Settlers Park, where the seeps are coming through the hillside, going out into the lake. Very, very specific environment that this plant needs in order to live. So it's been identified by various horticulturists, various botanists, been written about. It's on various endangered species maps and lists. So we're fortunate to have it here. And people know about it. There's a informational sign at the top of the hill explaining it to visitors. And I've even had people come that have read about it from other sources and want to come see our populations of it. It blooms in June, July, sort of is wrapping up its flowers by August. It's a low mat forming plant with bright yellow flowers that resemble a snapdragon. That is my very brief
Thank you, appreciate
summary
it.
of monkey flower.
So we're lucky that we have this here, and
Yeah.
it's actually our park, or at our park.
Yeah.
Right on the lake there.
Yeah, just to comment, not many situations have this kind of collaboration between the Lake Association, a county government, and neighbors, and a business person. It's just, it's kind of unique. And,
To save it.
It's a beautiful thing.
And
Steve, do you have a motion for us?
I move that we accept the proposal by Laurel to go ahead this year and work with the Monkey Flower for us to an amount not to exceed $960.
Or,
Second,
We all second it.
yeah.
It's been moved and seconded by, or moved by Steve, second by, I'm just gonna say Dave because I saw his hand up first, but I think we're all in agreement on this. Is there any further discussion?
Opa.
I think
Go
we
ahead,
should have
John. I can't see
Laurel's,
you.
I think we should have Laurel's last name in there instead of just say Laurel.
Moran, I have it.
Moran.
Moran, I have it.
I know it, but
Well,
the motion should include that.
Oh, I guess you don't. Huh. Oh, you know what? It's showing up on my monitor, but you can't see it.
Oh,
It wasn't.
well, I know who she is. I know who she is, but the minute should say that.
It does.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All those say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you.
Bye, Laurel.
Okay, moving on to the Glen Arbor Arts Center proposed event. Steve, do you want to take this?
Yes, I just took that one. We were contacted by a group that wants to do an event at Old Settlers. Now where's my Twitter? There we go. The Glen Arbor Arts Center wants to host the Traverse Symphony Orchestra and the Traverse City Dance Project for an outdoor performance at Old Settlers Park on August 12th from 5 to 8 p.m. Sounds like a good cause.
These are the same people that don't last couple of years, right?
Different
else?
group, right? Yeah, I don't see a case, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk. Yeah, this is a different group. We've had a group that's, from the church over there, community church, that's come in and done music events to raise money for community food banks, I believe. So we've always we've kind of allowed them to use the park and just for that event that day. So this is kind of, I think, what we talked about when we first allowed them, other events to come in, that we could have other groups start coming and watch to see what we're there on. So on one hand, I'm a little bit concerned about it because on one hand, I'm kind of concerned about it because this does open the door. It does allow this, whatever. It does start opening the event for other groups to come and use our park for whatever reason. So what we don't know by the information received, like, are they going to charge? Are they going to raise money? If they're raising money, what's that money going to be used for? How many people do they expect? If it's an orchestra, how much room are they going to be taking up, et cetera? And, you know, if they want to reserve the park, we don't reserve the park. So it would have to be a first come, first served basis. And I don't know that they're aware of that. So I don't know. I had too many questions to, I think, approve this today.
Well, it's by law that they can't charge to be on a county park, right? For an event. The other people just put a can out, said, give us
Did a
donation,
donation.
which is fine.
I think is that how they got away with it? Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be an at-will donation.
Right.
Is that what they intend for? Are they doing donation or is it just a community? They're gonna provide music for? the community and voters, or I guess I don't know what their intent is.
How big is the Traverse Center?
It just seems
That's what
like
I
that's what
wondered.
they're, just for the arts. the way
Just
I
for
read
their,
it.
just
I
for
don't
their
know.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
If that's the case.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty
do you know
bad.
what they're, see, what they're, like, can we kick this to April? Will they still have time to do their planning if we put this in April?
Yeah, it's not till August.
Hmm.
August, I think. wasn't
Yeah, it's
it?
August, April, even if it went to.
I would guess that they still have time.
May,
Seems like they would.
we can maybe get a few more. Yeah.
How many of their probably,
It is a Thursday night, don't wanna make sure, it is a Thursday night, so it's not like, I don't think our park's gonna be full of people on a Thursday
Right.
night in August, so it shouldn't, that shouldn't be a problem. I guess that would be, if they're, and I didn't like the other event, except that they were raising money for community when the church did it. They did oldies music, I think, which was kind of cool, but it was raising money for the community to give to, I think, a food bank, so, yeah, that was a great deal. I don't know what this is for.
Right.
Casey?
Go ahead.
It seems to me, Melinda, all the things you're mentioning now are secondary. The first thing you mentioned was we have a rule and we either have to change the rule. And once, because if you break the rule, then it opens it up for everybody. So we have to decide, do we want to change the rule or don't we want to change the rule?
If
And
it's
I don't know
a,
the answer to that.
Well, we don't know what their deal is how they're gonna
Otherwise, it's just for.
charge or donate.
If you go to the specific case, then you're looking at the secondary effects. You have to go back to the first thing and say, we have a rule. Do we keep the rule or do we change the rule?
Right, we want to keep the at will, is that what you call it?
at will donation.
At will
Yeah, it has
donation,
to
I call it fill in the can, but
Yeah,
pass it.
that's the hack.
I'm not even talking
They
about
can't
donations.
ask for a finite amount of money,
Right.
like $10
It's a
gift.
donation, at will donation.
As long
We
as,
have that in
as long
place
as I
already,
can-
so.
No, but that's not the main issue. The main issue is really what Melinda said. We have a rule. Do we want to cancel that rule or do we want to enforce the rule?
No, we don't want to cancel it.
Which
no,
rule?
there-
which rule?
Which rule are you talking
Reserve
about?
the
Is
park.
that the park
Case
is
by
not to
case.
be reserved. That it's
It's
first
first-
come, first
it's just
served
first
basis.
come,
Well, it's still first served, first come, first served.
First served.
But
first
they
come,
have,
first served.
they have
You
a
just
set
have to
time. They
not-
want to come in at 1:00, set up a stage, rehearse, perform, and then tear down by 8:30. So that's
Which-
really asking for a
The whole
block,
park.
in a lot of, I'm guessing a lot of room, but I don't know.
it may contain a lot.
We just
of-
need more
Yeah,
information.
they're saying what would be our next step, so, I think
the
we've fleshed out what they need to
Okay,
come up
let's
with,
watch that,
and I'll
bring it
get
back.
back to them.
Well, it's like the church thing got so big at Old Settlers too. Old Settlers is not a big park.
Right.
And that's why I suggested last year that they use Miles Kimberly, because Miles Kimberly is a huge park. But,
I remember that.
so it's same area, same content, you just don't have the water.
Let's kick it to April, think about it, and
Yeah, I'll get some more info for the next
I've
meeting.
been to several of these events,
Yes,
some of them
Could you contact
pretty
them
big.
and
They're
kind of tell them
pretty
where
big
we're
arcs.
at with this whole thing?
at Lake
Yeah,
Ann
really.
Park downtown. And it was pretty small.
Well, so it fit in like
Send
Ann
a
Park.
follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it at, the pavilions, where it was actually pretty big, but it's in that gazebo they have, which is pretty large.
I didn't know you were a connoisseur of fine music.
I am, that's why,
Good for you.
I think it's this company keeps,
Okay.
just kidding.
It sounds like Steve's gonna do some contacting and relaying, and then we'll put it on the agenda again in April.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, that's all I have under Old Settlers. Is there anything else under Old Settlers? Moving
No, I
on to
don't have
public
any.
comment.
The number to call in for public comment is 256-8109.
Just give it a couple minutes here. Is there anybody listening, Laurel?
No.
My space.
Okay, so I don't think we're gonna get any public comment. Are there any commissioner comments?
I have one.
I have one.
I didn't bring up an item for Veronica Valley. There's a teacher that wants to bring the kids, and he has done so already out of Traverse City, fifth grade at Eastern. And I'll flesh out some more information from him also for next month. I'll give his information to Dave so he can talk to Dave. It's kind of a neat thing that a school wants to come and use Veronica Valley as
Education.
just, education. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I'll flesh that out for next month, and I'll put Dave in touch with Mr. Cooper.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments?
That's really cool.
John,
John, I'm only seeing your shadow there. I can't, reflection in the
I'll
glass.
sit over there on the other side of the table. This might not happen next time. I really want to thank Laurel for some of the background she's doing on this stuff and where things came from and whatever. And she's very diligent in finding some of the stuff and rooting it out. But Laurel also needs to comment before this meeting is over on what we got to do after April 1st.
Correct.
Because I don't think we can have that.
No more Zooms unless.
There's no national emergency anymore. And there's 3 requirements when you can do it remotely, and this doesn't fit it.
I'm gonna send out an email to everyone. Currently, we are limited to appointments only. As of April 1st, the building will be open without restriction. And there are other concerns with Zoom, but I will email that to everyone.
We've got a long ways to go until April 1st. And as we've seen in the past, things can change very quickly. So, I mean, I think we're all prepared to meet back in person. I don't think that's an issue. I'm doing it right now just purely out of convenience. I mean, I walked in the door 5 minutes, 10 minutes before this meeting from pruning, but I think we're all ready to be back in person. If that's the case. And I think we need to wait until April 1st to find out what's going on. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's a good point, John. I mean, it's a very valid point. I'm ready to do away with the computer. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, go collect sap, Casey.
Boylan.
Okay. There, Chairperson comments. I just wanted to comment really quickly. I feel like that even with the new group, we're all functioning very well and we're getting a lot of work done. There's a lot of things at the forefront of our mind, a lot of things going on. Veronica's really in a groove right now. I just like the way things are flowing right now and the work that we're getting done. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel.
We are adjourned.
Members, I don't know if you saw what Laurel sent out, just some legal words.